Hi folks, Rain of Galen here, and welcome to another episode of Rain Makes Stuff. Today I'm going to be trying my hand at making something from Minecraft, which I've done once before, and as you might guess, it's just putting a bunch of squares together. When I made this sword, I basically just 3D printed a bunch of cubes and glued them together. This time I'm going to be making the soul lantern, which gives me an opportunity to have it do something, in this case light up, with a nice flame flicker effect. I'm also going to give it a much nicer finish, hopefully, than this. So without any further ado, let's get crafting. I found this inexpensive LED candle on Amazon and plan to use it as my light source. This lantern will need to be 7 cubes tall based on the model in the game, so I'll find my cube size by stacking 7 cubes next to the model of the LED candle. A smart person could probably have figured that out with math, but I like to do everything the hard way.
So that's how you want to play it, huh?
Once I've got my cube size, I can build my lantern virtually in TinkerCAD, which will help me determine how the glass panes and bottom will need to be designed and assembled. I'm thinking for the glass panes, I'll probably print the outer layer in leftover clear filament from our mush lamp we built a few weeks ago. Then I'll use thin layers of teal filament on top of that in varying thicknesses to create the varied shades once the lamp is lit up. Since the body of the lantern is made up of a bunch of cubes I'll need to glue together, I opted for a simpler approach to the glass panes since they're thinner and will simulate the appearance of separate cubes with some little notches instead.
This isn't real.
Once I've got the various levels of thickness figured out for each pane, I'll export the models and prep them for printing. For the cubes that make up the lantern's body, I'll use this dark silver filament and break out my new carbon fiber filament, not because they're the perfect filaments for the job, but because I'm broke and those are the closest colors I have to the actual colors in the game. Now we can let the printer do all the work while we work on some very important research.
Look at the little puppies.
Oh my goodness, you're just so adorable. As luck would have it, the cubes finished printing right as my research had concluded, so it was time to grab all of my lovely little blocks and bring them to my crafting table. Thinking it would make sanding all these blocks a bit easier, I bought a cheap polishing kit that I can attach to my drill and use to sand each little block. Ow. Yay. Ah. The store didn't have any higher grit discs to fit the polishing kit I bought, so I had to use these little detail sander sheets and cut them to size. In the end though, I found that sanding by hand just produced a better finish, so I only used the drill sander to sand down uneven edges. And there were not that many.
This is gonna take forever. Let's fast forward.
In the spirit of Minecraft, I'll now leave you to some relaxing music and a building montage. By the way, all of the materials I'm using for this make can be found in the description below. Speaking of materials, all these craft materials can get pretty expensive over time, so I wanted to take a moment to thank those of you who have provided support through my Buy Me a Coffee page. I'll throw a link in the upper right in case you'd like to help support this channel so I can make more stuff. Remember all that sanding we did yesterday? That was just so the blocks would glue together. Now I'll sand the entire lantern in various grits of sandpaper, starting with dry sanding at 220 and then moving to wet sanding, starting with 220 and moving all the way up through 1500. This will give our lantern a nice smooth finish. Next, I'll glue the handle on and give it a few coats of gloss lacquer to give the surface a nice smooth shine and hide any remaining blemishes from sanding. Once that's dry, the pane should be almost done printing. I'm actually really happy with how these turned out. The very thickness of the blue really worked well, and there's a nice sheen on the outside since I used a printer with a glass bed. Now I need simply glue the panes in place, and it turns out we have a perfect fit. Now let's try out our little LED candle and see how it looks. Success. Now for the bottom.
Oh, I broke it.
It turns out I'm not an engineer.
No shit.
And my design for the bottom of this thing was terrible.
It certainly does suck.
Plan B.
So I sulked back into my office and redesigned the bottom to cover the entire underside of the lantern with screws to hold it in place. Once the new bottom's ready, I'll mark where the screws will go and pre-drill some holes for them in the lantern. Finally, I'll glue down the candle and screw on the bottom of our base. And it's done. I am so excited for how this turned out. I really actually like the slow glow this glowing effect from this little LED candle. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you have, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And that's it. Let's take a look at our finished lantern.